to Magic. I know I haven't made a show in a really long time, but long story short, my wife had a baby about 9 months ago, and I've been really busy, but there's a lot going on in Magic right now. I really wanted to talk about conspiracy, but then they just announced the cons of Tarkir, and Sarkin Vol's going to be in it. And there's also this legal thing going on with Hex, and Vintage Masters is coming out this summer with Black Lotus and Time Walk and all the Moxes and even Time Twister. So I just felt like I needed to talk about Magic. First off, cons of Tarkir. Tarkir is a brand new plane to us. Of course, it's been in the game because Sarkin Vol is from there. We never knew what the name of his home plane was. But what we do know about it is that the dragons used to be awesome and powerful on Tarkir, and they all were killed off by warlords. And Sarkin just worships these things, and when he became a planeswalker, he searched the multiverse to find more dragons. And of course, we've seen Sarkin Vol before, way back in Alara Block, which was many years ago, and then also in Zendikar Block when he was doing some work for Nicobolas, so this will be the third card we've seen for him. Sarkin, I think, is pretty cool because he's one of the only three-color planeswalkers. He was the second after Nicobolas, and Ajani also has three colors now. So I'm hoping that maybe we'll see an actual three-color Sarkin, which would be only the second three-color planeswalker in the game. Like, actually all three colors on the same planeswalker card. Um, so we know a few things about the set. One, it's Sarkin Vol's home plane, and the block structure is going to be large, small, large, which we've seen a couple times before, but this is going to be a little bit different. Uh, they're also bringing back something that we've been asking for a few years, and they're going to bring us something new that we've been asking for a few years. So, something new could be almost anything. I mean, we, the players, ask for wizards a lot of things all the time, and you can search through forums and blogs and Tumblr and Twitter, and you probably will be no closer to figuring out what is going to be in there. So, who knows? The old thing that they're bringing back, well, there's a couple theories. Maybe it's going to be the fetch lands. It's been quite a while since the original fetch lands were printed. On the timeline, back in 1993 is when Magic was invented. Then in 2002 is when we got the original fetch lands. And they were instantly awesome, and everybody loved them, and they became a tournament staple. And then the next year is when we got new card frames on the Magic's 10th anniversary. A couple years later, we got the Shocklands, which became the new tournament cards. And then a few more years later, in Zendikar, we got the enemy colored fetch lands, which hadn't been printed before. And then a couple of years after that, obviously, it was Return to Ravnica, where we got the Shocklands again. And so now it's 2014. So the thing about fetch lands and shock lands is you probably don't want both of them in the standard environment because you don't want to use fetch lands to search out shock lands, and wizards would probably just be a little worried about that. But Ravnica will be cycling out as soon as Khans of Tarkir cycles in, so the time might be right to finally print the original fetch lands for the modern format. I mean, it's been 12 years, so that's a pretty long time. Really, though, the fetch lands are just a couple reprints. I mean, they would be awesome reprints, but when Mara was talking on his video the other day, it sounded like it was something more intense than just a couple of reprints that we've been looking for. So if you look at Sarkin's outfit, he has a lot of fur around it, which means that Tarkir, it must be really cold, which to me means maybe they're bringing back snow mana and snow permanence, which the last time we saw that was in Cold Snap, and that was the only time we ever really saw snow mana, at least. Now, snow permanence stayed all the way back to Ice Age, But they've never really been able to flesh them out. Cold Snap was a pretty small set, and it had a history of being really bad to draft with. Um, there wasn't a lot of fans of it, but snow was an interesting mechanic, so they might bring it back. Who knows? And the other thing we have to talk about is if Sark and Vol's around, then obviously there's going to be dragons. Now, of course, on Tarkir, the dragons are extinct, so what does that mean? Well, the end of Onslaught Block, there was a set called Scourge, and Scourge was marketed as the dragon set. But in actuality, it was not really a dragon set. It wasn't made to be a dragon set. It was more about concerned about converted mana cost. There were a few dragons in it. There were four dragons in it, and there was even a double strike dragon, which was pretty awesome. But Sarkit Vol is not going to come back to his home plane empty-handed, and I'm thinking he's probably going to be bringing some dragons back with him. In other news, we have Conspiracy, which is going to be a paper-only product. Uh, it's going to be set in the world of Fiora, which is where Dak Faden is from. Dak is the greatest thief in the multiverse, and he's the star of IDW's Magic the Gathering comic book. So he gets his very first Planeswalker card. We've never seen him before on a Planeswalker card, and it looks pretty cool. It's pretty powerful. He has some interesting abilities. But not only that, we get 5 new legendary creatures, and we even have some cool art with all of them. And they're probably going to be pretty awesome in Commander because Conspiracy is actually going to be a multiplayer themed set. So first we have Brago King Eternal. He's the first that's been spoiled, and he's pretty neat. He's got evasion, and he triggers when he damages an opponent, and then he can flicker however many of your things that you want. Now, up until now, the flickering general has pretty much been Rune, who's pretty good, but not nearly as good as Brago. Brago has the ability to do any non-land permanent, whereas Rune can only do creatures. Brago can get hit as many as you want, and Rune can only do one at a time when he taps. So overall, Brago seems pretty awesome. Rune, the really only thing that he has going for him over Brago is that he has green mana, which means if he's your commander, then you can have some pretty awesome green permanents flickering in and out, whereas Brago is limited to the colors that Flicker is already in, which is blue and white. Um, so, pretty cool. I'm sure there will be some awesome commander decks that come out of him. Next, we have 2 more commanders, which are Selvala and Marchesa, uh, both of which have one of the new abilities, Parlay, which is where you get to relay everybody's top card, and then something happens depending on how many non-lands there are, and then everybody gets to draw those cards. So it's more powerful the more players are in the game, which is pretty neat. And then there's also Dethrone, which is you get +1/+1 counters when you attack the person that has the most life, which plays into the multiplayer aspect. So both pretty neat. I think Marchesso would make an awesome commander. You throw things into the deck where you can lower your life right before you attack and make sure you're always attacking into the person that has the highest life total, and that would be pretty awesome. Savala, she's obviously not going to be as predictable because you have to reveal and it's random, so that'll be a little bit harder. Maybe work in some deck manipulation, but who knows. Uh, Also, we have the Will of the Council, which is a new ability where people get to vote. And sometimes you can have more than one vote. There's cards that give you another vote and other things. Now, this actually reminds me of a commander card called Archangel of Strife, where when you came in, it didn't say you voted, but you chose either war or peace, and then depending on what happened, or what you chose, then different things happened. So it's cool for multiplayer. It's pretty interesting. Also, there's the Conspiracies, which is a completely new type of card where they start in your command zone and they can do all kinds of different things, Like this guy lets you draw another hand, and then you get to pick whichever one you want. Or you can name a creature before the game starts, and when you play that creature, you reveal it, and those creatures have haste. Or why not just automatically go first? So there's all kinds of neat conspiracies. And then there's the draft matters cards, where you actually draft them face up, show them to everybody, and they have some kind of crazy ability. Depending on what they do, you can either, there's one that it gets you an extra pick if you put it back into to another pack. There's one that you reveal it and you add another pack to the draft, and it can be any pack you want. There's this one where you can trade one of your cards away for something that someone offers you for it at the end of the draft. There's all kinds of craziness, which these cards probably will not make it into Vintage Masters because I'm sure this is the reason that Conspiracy is only paper, but still pretty neat. And finally, we have the legal issue of Hex Shards of Fate. So, Hex is a digital card game that was started on Kickstarter. They raised $2.2 million, and they wanted to make a trading card game that combined MMO aspects. Wizards said that this game is a lot like Magic, and they needed to stop. And then Cryptozoic, who is the guys who make Hex, said that no, they're not going to stop because they don't have any merit, and you're just kind of trying to push your weight around and being a bully. So they're saying that Wizards is basically Goliath, and they're David, and they're going to fight him legally. And we'll have to see how it plays out. Now, how similar is Hex to Magic? I played it at Gen Con in 2013, the beta, and it seemed pretty similar to me. I mean, first off, you start off at 20 life, which is just like Magic, but you can lose if you run out of cards, so that's pretty much the same. There's also 5 colors, which pretty much match up with Magic's colors. You start off with 7 cards in your hand, and you have to discard if you have more than that. You have a deck with 60 cards. Your cards tap when they attack or when they do something. There's creatures, which they call troops, and enchantments, which they call constants, and there's spells you can only cast during your turn, and there's spells you can cast during your opponent's turn or your turn, and there's colorless things, and all together it just seems pretty similar. I mean, I don't know. I mean, just judging from my own experience, it seemed pretty similar. Uh, I mean, there's supposed to be an avatar system where you can level up and you can get other powers, but I don't know. It seemed pretty similar to me. So, that's it for this episode of Taste of Magic. I really appreciate you watching, and I will see you guys later.